You didn't click this by accident. Something inside you brought you here. And before we go any further, if this speaks to you, gently like and subscribe. Not out of obligation, out of recognition. Because right now, you're probably carrying something heavy. Maybe your life looks normal on the outside, but inside, something feels unsettled. A quiet tension you can't fully explain. You might feel disconnected from people who once felt close. You might be questioning choices that once felt certain. You might wake up with a strange sense that something is ending and something else hasn't started yet, and you don't know why. Let me tell you something most people never realize. Major life transformations rarely begin with clarity. They begin with discomfort, with confusion, with a subtle inner collapse. Psychologically, this is what happens when your identity starts to outgrow the structures that once held it. Carl Jung called this the beginning of individuation, the moment your unconscious starts demanding attention, not loudly, quietly, through restlessness, through emotional fatigue, through a sense of misalignment with your own life. And here's the first sign. You start questioning everything, not in a dramatic way, in a silent way. You begin asking yourself things like, why am I living this way? Why do I keep repeating the same patterns? Is this really who I am? This isn't random. Your nervous system is detecting that your current identity no longer fits. From childhood, you learned how to survive, not how to be authentic. You adapted. You became who you needed to be to feel safe, accepted, loved. You learned which emotions were allowed, which behaviors were rewarded, which parts of you needed to stay hidden. That survival version of you carried you far, but now it's exhausted. So your psyche begins dismantling it. That's why things feel unstable. Your mind is loosening old beliefs. Your body is releasing stored tension. Your emotions are surfacing unresolved material. You're not breaking. You're reorganizing, and that process feels like chaos. Here's something few people talk about. The brain prefers familiarity over happiness, even painful familiarity. So when you begin changing internally, your system resists. You feel anxious, disconnected, lost. That's not failure. That's withdrawal from an old identity. Second sign, you feel detached from your past. Old interests don't excite you. Old conversations feel empty. People you once related to now feel distant. This isn't arrogance. This is neurological. Your dopamine pathways are shifting. Your values are changing. Your brain is literally reprioritizing meaning. Psychologically, this happens when your sense of self evolves. What once gave you emotional reward no longer does, and that creates grief. Not dramatic grief, quiet grief. You mourn versions of yourself you didn't realize you were attached to. Your former dreams, your former roles, your former coping mechanisms. You don't necessarily want your old life back. You just feel strange living without it. This is where inner conflict emerges. Part of you wants growth, part of you wants safety. They pull against each other, and you feel stuck in between. Third sign, what once mattered suddenly feels small. Status, validation, external success. You begin craving depth instead. You start asking bigger questions. What am I actually here for? Why do I feel empty even when things are fine? This happens when your psyche shifts from external validation to internal coherence. You stop measuring your worth by achievement. You start measuring it by alignment. And that's terrifying, because society doesn't teach you how to navigate inner truth. It teaches you how to perform. So when you stop performing, you feel exposed, lonely, misunderstood. Here's a curiosity loop for you. Have you noticed how this phase often feels isolating? That's because transformation requires separation, not socially, psychologically. You withdraw inward. Your nervous system needs quiet to recalibrate. Fourth sign, your intuition gets louder. You feel things before you can explain them. You sense people's energy. You notice when something feels off. This isn't mystical. It's your subconscious integrating information faster than your conscious mind. Your awareness is expanding. Your brain is picking up microsignals, tone changes, facial tension, emotional incongruence. You're becoming more embodied, more present, more attuned, which means you also become less tolerant of emotional dishonesty, including your own. Fifth sign, you feel an intense urge to grow. Not hustle, heal. You start looking inward, reading, reflecting, confronting old wounds. You begin recognizing patterns from childhood, how you learned to people please, how you learned to suppress anger, how you learned to minimize yourself. This is shadow work. Jung described the shadow as the parts of you that were rejected early in life, and now those parts want integration, so they surface through memories, through triggers, through emotional waves. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary, because you can't become whole by avoiding what shaped you. Sixth sign, you feel compelled to leave toxic environments, not with rage, with clarity. You suddenly see how certain relationships drain you, how certain spaces keep you small, how certain dynamics repeat trauma. Your nervous system is recalibrating boundaries. You no longer confuse chaos with connection. You no longer tolerate emotional erosion. This is self-respect emerging, not ego, awareness. You realize healing sometimes means walking away quietly, without needing closure, without needing validation, just choosing peace. And finally, the seventh sign. You feel disconnected from everything that no longer serves you. Old habits, old identities, old fears. There's a strange emptiness, but also a strange calm. That emptiness is not loss, it's space. Space for a new internal structure to form. Your brain is creating new neural pathways. Your body is releasing stored survival responses. Your psyche is rebuilding. You are in the in-between, the death of who you were, the birth of who you're becoming. And here's the truth most people never hear. Transformation is quiet. It doesn't denounce itself. It whispers through exhaustion, through detachment, through deep reflection, through the uncomfortable realization that you can't go back, only forward. If this resonates, understand something important. You are not broken. You are integrating. You are not lost. You are shedding outdated identities. You are not failing. You are awakening, not spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, nervously. You are learning who you are beneath conditioning, and that is one of the most difficult things a human can do. So be gentle with yourself. You are rebuilding from the inside, and one day soon, without realizing when it happened, you'll look back and understand this was the moment everything began to change, quietly, slowly, from within.